Okay, so we're back for another deep dive, and this time we're tackling a creature that has captured imaginations for its rather peculiar characteristic.
Peculiar is putting it mildly. I mean, we're talking about a creature that's often touted as biologically immortal.
Yeah, the immortal jellyfish. Turritopsis dohrnii, to be precise.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it sounds like something out of science fiction, right?
Hmm.
An animal that can potentially live forever.
Right, and it really challenges our understanding of the natural world and the typical life cycles we're used to seeing.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we pulled together some fascinating articles from some pretty reputable sources.
Yeah, we've got insights from the Natural History Museum, BBC Earth, BBC Science Focus magazine, even delved into the depths of Wikipedia on this one.
We're going deep. This is the deep dive after all. So for our listeners, let's break down what makes this tiny jellyfish so special, so seemingly immortal.
Well, it all boils down to this incredible ability they have to basically reverse their life cycle.
Okay, so back up a second. Most jellyfish, they follow a pretty standard progression, right?
Yeah.
Egg, larva, polyp, and then the free-swimming medusa.
Exactly. And it's that Medusa stage that we typically picture when we think of jellyfish. They mature, reproduce, and eventually, well, their life cycle comes to an end.
But the Turritopsis dohrnii, it does things a bit differently.
A bit differently is an understatement. This jellyfish, when it encounters stress, any kind of stress really, it doesn't just die, it goes through this incredible transformation.
Stress meaning like what? Old age, injury.
All of that. Injury, lack of food, illness, even just the natural aging process itself.
So what happens? It like shrinks or something?
Basically, yeah. It starts to shrink, the tentacles retract, and it eventually settles down on the seabed as this little cyst-like blob.
So it just reverts back to a younger version of itself.
Even more interesting than that. Over a day or two, that blob develops into a polyp. That's the stationary, stalk-like stage that usually comes before the medusa.
Wait, so it's not just reverting, it's like starting its life cycle over.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. From that new polyp, a whole bunch of genetically identical medusae can bud off.
Whoa, so it's like a fountain of youth, like it's creating copies of itself.
It's a biological rewind button in action. Like imagine a butterfly not just laying eggs, but turning back into a caterpillar and then becoming multiple new butterflies.
It's mind-blowing.
Hmm.
But how does it actually achieve this?
So the process is called transdifferentiation. And what's really fascinating is that the adult cells of the medusa, they essentially reprogram themselves.
Reprogram, like they change their function.
Yeah, they change their function completely. They become the types of cells that make up the polyp stage. It's not just about repairing damage, it's a total cellular makeover.
I mean, it's almost like they're defying the natural order of things.
And that's why they've earned that immortal label, because theoretically, if they could keep encountering those stressful triggers and avoid any other threats, they could potentially just keep cycling between medusa and polyp forever.
But was this, like, always known? I mean, who figured this out?
It was actually a bit of a serendipitous discovery. Back in the 1980s, there were these two students, Christian Summer and Giorgio Bavistrello, studying Turritopsis polyps in a lab.
Okay, so they were looking at the polyps, and I'm guessing they weren't expecting to see them suddenly become medusae and then go back again.
Right. They were initially focused on the medusae budding off from the polyps, like the normal jellyfish life cycle. But then they started noticing these new polyps popping up in their cultures.
Must have been a real head-scratcher at first.
Yeah, further investigation showed that the medusae, when stressed, were transforming directly back into polyps, skipping the whole larval stage and without any sexual reproduction.
Wow, talk about an unexpected turn of events. And that's when the whole immortal jellyfish idea really took off, I imagine.
Rightfully so, it's an incredible phenomenon. But it's important to remember, while they have this incredible ability, they're not invincible.
Yeah, there's got to be some limits to this immortality, right? They can't just be immune to everything.
Exactly. In the real world, they still have predators. Fish, sea turtles, even other jellyfish are known to snack on them.
Right, so nature has a way of balancing things out, even for the immortal.
Definitely. And those polyps, those are vulnerable too. Sea slugs and crustaceans, they'll happily munch on them if they get the chance. So while they can potentially escape aging, they're not escaping the food chain.
So these immortal jellyfish, they're not exactly giants, are they?
Oh no, they are tiny. The adult medusa, it's only about 4.5 millimeters wide and tall.
Wow, that's like smaller than a pinky fingernail. It's amazing to think something so small can have such a complex and fascinating life cycle.
Absolutely. And speaking of life cycles, it's interesting to look at where they originated.
Yeah, where did these tiny, potentially immortal creatures first appear?
The evidence suggests their origin is the Mediterranean Sea. But what's even more fascinating is how they've spread throughout the world's oceans.
And how do they manage that? Do they just, like, drift on currents?
Currents probably played a part, but it seems human activities have been a major factor in their global distribution.
Really? We're helping the immortal jellyfish spread.
It seems so, unintentionally, of course. It's mainly through ballast water in ships.
Ballast water, how does that work?
So large ships, they take on water for stability. And sometimes these tiny jellyfish or their polyp stages, they get sucked into those ballast tanks.
And since they can revert to the polyp stage when stressed, they can survive those long journeys across the ocean.
Exactly. And then when that ballast water is discharged in a new port, out pop the jellyfish, ready to colonize a new environment.
It's like a silent invasion of tiny immortals.
And because they're so small, they don't usually cause the kind of noticeable disruptions we see with other invasive species.
It's incredible how a creature so small can have such a wide-reaching impact. But what about their diet? What are these tiny immortals eating to fuel their amazing abilities?
They're carnivores. They feed on zooplankton, fish eggs, small mollusks, things like that.
So, typical jellyfish fare. Using their stinging tentacles to capture prey, I presume.
Absolutely. Those tentacles are key to their hunting strategy. They paralyze their prey and then bring it to their mouth.
Speaking of tentacles, our sources mentioned an interesting variation in their number depending on where they're found.
Ah, yes, that's a curious observation. The Turritopsis dohrnii found in tropical regions like Panama, they tend to have about 8 tentacles. But in more temperate waters like the Mediterranean or around Japan, they often have 24 or more tentacles.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah.
Any idea why there's such variation?
That's still a bit of a mystery, a question researchers are actively trying to answer.
It seems the more we learn about these creatures, the more intriguing they become. But back to their big claim to fame, that ability to seemingly reverse aging. Is that something scientists are really interested in?
Absolutely. It has huge implications for research into aging and regenerative medicine.
I mean, if we could understand how they do it, could that hold clues to extending human lifespan?
It's a very real possibility. One particular area of interest is their telomeres.
Telomeres, those are those protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes, right?
Exactly. And they shorten every time a cell divides. It's a key part of the aging process. But the Turritopsis dohrnii, it seems to have a way of preventing that shortening or even lengthening them during its reversion process.
So they're essentially resetting their cellular clocks.
It's like they've cracked the code for maintaining youthful cells. And while research is still ongoing, there's a lot of excitement about the potential for applying these discoveries to human health and longevity.
It's amazing to think this tiny jellyfish could hold the key to unlocking such significant secrets. But I imagine studying them isn't easy.
It's a real challenge. They're incredibly sensitive to their environment, things like water temperature and the specific types of plankton they need to eat.
So maintaining them in a lab setting is a tricky business.
To say the least. In fact, very few researchers have managed to keep them alive for extended periods.
Well, there's got to be someone out there pushing the boundaries of this research.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Shin Kubota at Kyoto University in Japan, he's one of the pioneers in this field. He's managed to maintain colonies of these jellyfish and observe them rejuvenating multiple times over several years.
Wow, that's dedication. I bet it takes a lot of patience and meticulous care to keep those tiny creatures happy.
From what I've read, he even has to finely chop their food for them. Talk about going the extra mile for your research subjects.
So, to sum up our deep dive into the world of Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish, what we've learned is truly remarkable. They possess this incredible ability to revert back to a younger stage when facing stress, injury, illness, even old age. They essentially turn back time, creating new copies of themselves in the process.
And this all happens thanks to a process called transdifferentiation, where their cells essentially reprogram themselves, changing their function to become the cells of a younger life stage.
This amazing ability was discovered accidentally back in the 1980s, and since then, scientists have been trying to unlock the secrets of their potential immortality.
And while they're not truly immortal in the sense of being invincible, they do challenge our understanding of aging and the limits of life cycles.
We've also learned they're tiny creatures, smaller than a fingernail, originally from the Mediterranean Sea, but now found around the globe, thanks in part to us and our ships.
And despite being small and seemingly simple, they're carnivores with a taste for zooplankton and other tiny creatures, capturing them with their stinging tentacles, which, interestingly enough, vary in number depending on where they're found.
And their ability to maintain their telomeres, those protective caps on our chromosomes, is of immense interest to researchers studying aging and the potential for regenerative medicine.
Because if we can understand how they do it, it could have profound implications for human health and longevity.
But studying them in captivity is no easy feat, requiring incredibly precise conditions and a lot of dedication, as demonstrated by Dr. Shin Kubota and his meticulous care for his jellyfish colonies.
So what we have here is a tiny creature that's captivating scientists and the public alike with its seemingly impossible feat of biological rejuvenation. It begs the question, what else don't we know about the hidden wonders of the natural world?
And that brings us to our final thought for today. If a creature as small and seemingly simple as the Turritopsis dohrnii can seemingly cheat death, what does that tell us about the true nature of life and aging? Are there limits, or is there a hidden potential for renewal waiting to be discovered in all living things? It's something to ponder as we continue to explore the mysteries of our planet and the fascinating creatures that call it home. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.